Hello everyone. Now we have done with two adjustments so far, that is intercompany adjustment and unrealized profit. Okay, intercompany adjustment and unrealized profit. Two adjustments we have done in detail. Now we take up with the third point, that is revaluation of assets. Okay, and in the live session we have discussed this extra note also regarding the profit, the shortcut method, that if percentage profit is on selling price, then how will you find the amount of profit? R upon 100. And if percentage profit is on cost price, then how will you find the amount of profit? R upon 100 plus R. Now revaluation of assets means when holding company acquires the shares of subsidiary company, holding company revalues the assets and liabilities of subsidiary company also. Generally, holding company does this revaluation for its own selfish objective to decide should it buy the shares of subsidiary company or not. Is the valuation of shares of subsidiary company proper or not? But the revaluation of those assets has an impact on consolidation of financial statements also. So revaluation of assets means when the shares are acquired on that date, holding company revalues the assets and liabilities of subsidiary company, and if there is a change in the value of those assets, then at the time of consolidation that change is to be implemented. How is it to be implemented and effects are to be given? Understand it. Two things are possible at the time of revaluation of assets. So two things are possible in revaluation of assets. One is the revaluation may be done upward. Upward means it's a revaluation profit. Okay, whatever is the book value of fixed assets, compared to that, holding company has revalued it at an higher amount. That is called revaluation upward. Or the revaluation may be done downward. Downward means it's a revaluation loss. Downward means as compared to the book value, holding company has revalued the assets of subsidiary company at a lower amount. Now, if the revaluation is done upward, then the two effects would be effect 1. Upward means it's a profit, so plus in concerned or respective fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. Okay, directly in consolidated balance sheet, you will add it in respective fixed asset. And second effect, revaluation. Revaluation means it's done on the date of acquisition of shares. So you will add it in pre-acquisition profits. Okay, you'll add it in pre-acquisition profits in working note 3. The third working note what we make for profit and loss account, total pre-post column opening balance profit during the year. In that you will add it in pre-acquisition profits column in working note 3. Okay, why pre? Because revaluation is done on the date of acquisition of shares. So on that date, whatever is the profit is because of before acquisition, past efforts. So you'll add it in pre-acquisition profits. And vice versa if it's revalued downward. Okay, if it's revalued upward, then plus in fixed asset. If it is revalued downward, then first effect you will minus from fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. Okay, you'll minus from fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. And same way in the working note 3 you will minus it from pre-acquisition profits. Okay, you'll minus in the column of pre-acquisition profits in working note 3. So if it is revalued upward, then plus in fixed asset and plus in pre-acquisition column in working note 3. If it is revalued downward, then minus from fixed assets and minus from pre-acquisition profits in working note 3. Now after evaluating upward and downward, Accordingly, depreciation will also have to provided more or withdraw. Okay, so what will be the effect of depreciation on the revaluation? That also we need to understand. So again, within depreciation, two things are possible. What would be the impact of depreciation if revaluation is done upward, and what would be the impact of depreciation if revaluation is done downward? In both the situations we will see. Okay, if revaluation is done upward or downward, then what will be the effect of depreciation? Now see, if revaluation is done upward, means we have to provide additional depreciation. For example, the value of fixed asset is 1 lakh and revalued at 1,10,000. So its revaluation upward, there is a profit of 10,000. Now existing in the books, they have provided depreciation on 1 lakh, but now we have to provide on 1,10,000. Means we have to provide additional depreciation. So if you provide additional depreciation, effect 1 will be minus from fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. Okay, minus from fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. And second effect, now if I ask you the question, when do we provide depreciation in the books of accounts? I repeat, I am talking about the point of time period. When, not for which period, but when do we provide depreciation in the books of accounts? Then can I say depreciation we provide in the books of accounts when we make final accounts on 31st March only? I repeat, depreciation is always provided in the books of accounts on 31st March, end of the year only. Since it is provided on the last day of the year, you will always give the effect of depreciation in post acquisition column. Okay, post acquisition profits in working note 3. Okay, you'll minus it from post acquisition profits in working note 3. And why post acquisition profit? Because depreciation is always provided on the last day of the year, so it will always come in post acquisition column only. Now if the asset is revalued downward, that means existing we have already provided more depreciation, we have to withdraw it back. Okay, so if 1 lakh's fixed asset is revalued at 90,000, means existing in the books we have already provided depreciation on 1 lakh, whereas now after the revaluation we should have provided on 90,000. We have already provided more depreciation in the books of accounts, which we have to withdraw back. So as a first effect, to withdraw it back, you will add in fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. Okay, you'll add in fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet. And second effect, again as I discussed with you, you will always give the effect in which column? Post acquisition column only, because depreciation is provided on the last day of the year. So you will add in post acquisition profits in working note 3. Okay, you'll add it in post acquisition profits in working note 3. Now as a shortcut, what you can remember is, understand this properly, revaluation profit, so we will plus in fixed asset and will plus in pre-acquisition column in working note 3. Why pre? Because on the date of revaluation, if the value goes up, it is because of the past efforts only, so you add it in pre. If it is revalued downward, that is loss, then instead of plus you will minus, not plus, it should be minus. You'll minus from respective fixed asset in consolidated balance sheet, and you will minus from pre-acquisition profits in working note 3. Now what you remember is, in case of depreciation you do opposite. So revaluation profit you add, means it's depreciation you minus. Revaluation loss you minus, so it's depreciation you plus. You remember this opposite. Revaluation upward is added, so its depreciation we will minus. Revaluation downward is subtracted, so its depreciation we will plus. Now where will you plus and minus? Revaluation upward and downwards effect you'll do in pre-acquisition column, and depreciation's effects you'll do in post-acquisition column. And second effect, you always plus and minus in fixed asset. You can see a plus in fixed asset, minus in fixed asset. It's depreciation minus from fixed asset plus in fixed asset. So one effect of both the adjustment is in fixed asset only. You have to remember, where does the second effect go? If it is revaluations effect, then pre-acquisition column. If it is depreciations effect, then post-acquisition column. So quite simple to remember it this way. I repeat it once again. Revaluation upward plus and its depreciation minus. Okay, remember it this way. I repeat. Revaluation upward plus and its depreciation minus. Revaluation downward minus and its depreciation plus. Now where to plus and minus? One effect in fixed asset. Second effect, revaluations effect in pre-acquisition column in working note 3 and depreciations effect in post-acquisition column in working note 3. Listen carefully once again. Revaluation upward plus its depreciation minus. Revaluation downward minus its depreciation plus. Where to plus or minus? One effect in balance sheet, fixed assets. Second effect, revaluation you'll do in pre-acquisition column in working note 3 and its depreciations second effect you'll give in post-acquisition column in working note 3. Plus or minus whatever you do, that you'll do in pre-acquisition column for revaluation and post-acquisition column for its depreciation. Okay. Now these are the effects, but before the effects we have to make the working for its calculation also. So all of you understand what workings will we make for the calculation of revaluation, profit, loss and its depreciation. This working again I have devised it and made in such a manner that it will make your job very simple. So follow these workings. It will be very simple for you to identify as a revaluation upward or downward. Okay. Make 4 columns in the notebook: particulars, book value, revaluation and effects. I repeat, 4 columns: particulars, book value, revaluation and effects. Pause the video and make these 4 columns. I hope you all have done the columns. Now, we will always start with the value. We will always start with the value at the beginning of the year. Okay, we will always start with the value at the year beginning. Now, book value will be written. Nothing will come in the column of revaluation because revaluation I told you is done on which date? On the date of acquisition of shares, not in the beginning. So only book value will come here. From that you minus depreciation up to the date of acquisition. Okay, you minus depreciation up to the date of acquisition of shares. Okay, you'll minus depreciation up to the date of acquisition of shares. And from the value of the fixed asset at the beginning of the year, if you subtract depreciation up to the date of acquisition, then you will get value on the date of acquisition. Okay, you'll get the value on the date of acquisition of shares. You'll get the value on the date of acquisition of shares. Now, this value will be compared with the value which is revalued. So if revaluation is done more, it's a profit. If revaluation is done less, then it is a loss. And that effects we will give as we discussed here. You'll plus or minus in fixed asset, and you will plus, if it's a profit, you'll plus in fixed asset, and if it is loss, you'll minus in fixed asset. And second effect you'll give in pre-acquisition column. Okay, as I said to you, revaluations effect will always go in working note 3 in pre-acquisition column. So if it is profit, you'll plus in pre-acquisition column. If it is loss, you will minus in pre-acquisition column in working note 3. Now after this, you will subtract again depreciation up to the end of the year, from the date of acquisition up to the end of the year. Remaining periods depreciation. But one point is to be noted here. When you count depreciation up to the end of the year, don't count on this value. You always count the depreciation on the value in the beginning of the year only. Both these depreciations, depreciation up to the date of acquisition as well as depreciation up to the end of the year, are calculated on the value in the beginning of the year only. Reason, in the books of accounts, we are talking about book value. In the books of accounts, how do we calculate depreciation? Do we calculate depreciation every day, every week, every month, every 2 months, every 6 months? No. We always count depreciation only one time in our books of accounts, that is on 31st March. And on which value do you count the depreciation on 31st March? On the value of the opening balance of asset of that particular year. So when we provide the depreciation in the books of accounts, we always count depreciation on the value which is in the beginning of the year. So this depreciation up to the date of acquisition will also be calculated on the beginning of year's value, and this depreciation up to the end of the year will also be calculated on the value at the beginning of the year. So all of you do this markings over here, that both these depreciations will be calculated on the value in the beginning of the year, and this depreciation you will count on this revalued amount. Okay, because revaluation column we are doing it, so that depreciation in the second column for this period you'll count on the revalued amount. Now this difference here will give us additional or excess depreciation, that we have to minus in fixed asset or plus in fixed asset, and second effect we have to give in post acquisition profits in working note 3. Now what did I tell you? If there is revaluation profit, then you will plus, and its depreciation you will minus. If there is revaluation loss, then you will minus, and its depreciation you will plus. But profit or loss effects you'll give in fixed asset and pre-acquisition column in working note 3. Depreciations effect you'll give it in fixed assets and post-acquisition column in working note 3. Okay, so this difference will represent the profit or loss, and this difference will represent the additional or excess depreciation. And then you'll get the value at the end of the year. So this is the working which we have to make to calculate the revaluation profit or loss and its depreciation. Look at the entire working once again. 4 columns will be made: particulars, book value, revaluation, and effects. We'll start the workings with the value of asset at the beginning of the year. From that we will minus depreciation up to the date of acquisition. And on which value will you count this depreciation? You'll count it on the value at the beginning of the year. You'll get the value on the date of acquisition of the asset in the books of accounts. Compare it with the revalued amount, and the difference will result in profit or loss. If it is profit, you will plus. If it is loss, you will minus. Where plus and minus? In fixed asset and pre-acquisition column in working note 3. Then you will again count depreciation up to the end of the year. But important point to be noted is, in book value column, you'll count the depreciation on which value? Book value in the beginning of the year. On that, you'll count this depreciation for the remaining part of the year. And in revaluation column, obviously, you'll count on the revalued amount. This difference will represent additional or excess depreciation. Now, if there is revaluation profit, its depreciation you will minus. If there is revaluation loss, its depreciation you will plus. But where? In fixed asset and post acquisition column in working note 3. And this working will come after time ratio. Okay, means it will come before P&L account, because in P&L accounts working, we have to give that effect. So that P&L's working will actually become working note 4. Okay, so this workings will come after time ratio, means now what will be our 7 workings if unrealized profit is also there? Working note 1, degree of control. Working note 2, time ratio. Working note 3, this revaluation workings. Then working note 4, profit and loss accounts and general reserves working. Working note 5, control chart A. Working note 6, control chart B. and working note 7 unrealized profit if that is also given in the question. So 6 workings we have been doing up till now, and in case now if revaluation is also there, we'll be doing 7 workings. But keep it in mind, the unrealized profit workings comes at the end, but where will this working come of revaluation? It will come after time ratio. So actually this working note 3 would become working note 4 in our solutions. Okay. This working note 3 what we are writing would actually now become working note 4 in our solutions. But up till now that P&L's workings we have been doing working note 3. Now that automatically will become working note 4 because third working would become of revaluation account. Okay. So let us take up with the practice of one question which includes the effect of this revaluation. Take out your study material. We'll be solving question number 16 today. Take it out everyone. Yes, all of you look at question number 16 now, be attentive. This is taken up in the college in the current year. Following are the assets and liabilities of S Limited and A Limited as at 31/3/19. Now here be careful. S Limited is actually a holding company, okay? The name is S Limited, but don't get mistaken that S is a subsidiary company. Here S Limited is a holding company and A Limited is the subsidiary company. So don't go by the letters here, okay? First company S Limited who has more share capital 10,50,000 is holding company, and the company with lesser share capital 7 lakhs is the subsidiary company. Now equity share capital of rupees 10 each, so 10,50,000 divided by 10, there are 1,05,000 shares in holding company S Limited, and 7 lakhs divided by 10, there are 70,000 shares in subsidiary company A Limited. Put cross on share capital of A Limited, that will not come in consolidated balance sheet. Equity share capital will come in the note of share capital. General reserve and P&L account will come in the note of reserves and surplus. Put cross on 30,000 and put cross on 90,000. Reserves and surplus of subsidiary company don't appear in the consolidated balance sheet. Only holding company's amount 2,50,000 and 3,10,000 will come in consolidated balance sheet. 10% term loan will come in long-term borrowings. We'll add the two amounts 1,40,000 plus 1,95,000. Trade creditors will come in trade payables. We'll add the two amounts 90,000 and 67,000. Goodwill will come in intangible fixed asset. In the last question itself, I discussed 3 situations are possible. If we also get goodwill in our working note of control chart B, then added here. If we get capital reserve, then capital reserve, if it is less than total of this 2,50,000, we will minus from goodwill. If capital reserve is more than 2,50,000, then goodwill you will minus from capital reserve in reserves and surplus. So do we get goodwill or do we get capital reserve in control chart B, and what amount? After that we will discuss again. Do we have to add the goodwill of intangible fixed assets, or do we have to minus the capital reserve in goodwill, or do we have to minus goodwill from capital reserve? It will all be depending on the amounts, but remember, smaller amount will always be subtracted from bigger amount. Building and machinery both will come in tangible fixed assets, and we'll add all the 4 amounts. Investment. Now again, is it mentioned investment in shares of A Limited? So this is like the previous question what we did yesterday. This investment will include some outside investments also. After we see the working, we'll divide it in 2 parts. One is investments we will have in A Limited, and the other is we'll find out what are the outside investments. And only A Limited's investment will get cancelled. Remaining outside investments plus this 1,05,000 will continue to appear in consolidated balance sheet. This will come in non-current investments. Stock will come in inventories, and we will add the 2 amounts 55,000 and 1,20,000. It should be trade debtors. Make the correction, not trade discount but trade debtors. Trade debtors will come in trade receivables, and we'll add the 2 amounts 57,000 plus 55,000. Cash at bank will come in cash and cash equivalents, and we will add the 2 amounts 28,000 plus 65,000. Now additional information. S Limited acquired 70% of equity shares in A Limited. This will get us degree of control. How many shares are there in A Limited? 70,000. Out of that 70% means 49,000 shares are acquired by holding company S Limited. So remaining 21,000 shares are with minority shareholders. At a premium of rupees 1 per share, face value 10 plus premium 1 means the shares are acquired at 11 rupees. 70% of 70,000, 49,000 shares are acquired at 11 rupees. So all of you do 49,000 into 11, 4,90,000 plus 49, so 5,39,000 means 5,39,000 is the amount invested by holding company S Limited in the shares of subsidiary company A Limited. I repeat, S Limited acquired 70% of equity shares in A Limited at a premium of rupees 1 per share. Premium of 1 per share means the shares are acquired at 11 rupees. 70,000 are the shares in subsidiary companies. 70% of that, 49,000 shares are acquired. So 49,000 shares into 11 rupees. How much investment is made by holding company in the shares of subsidiary company? 5,39,000. So now see this investment in balance sheet, 5,50,000 we can divide in two parts. 5,39,000 is the investment in the shares of A Limited that gets cancelled. It will not come in consolidated balance sheet. And 5,50,000 minus 5,39,000, 11,000 are outside investments. They will continue to appear in the balance sheet. So what amount of non-current investments will come in the consolidated balance sheet? This 11,000 plus this 1 lakh, 5,000 of subsidiary company. Total 1,16,000 of investments will continue to appear in consolidated balance sheet. Further, on 31/7/18, that is the date of acquisition of shares, it will help us in getting time ratio. Okay, 31/7/18 the shares are acquired, so that is the date of acquisition of shares. It will help us in getting time ratio. Second adjustment, on 1/4/18, that is the beginning of the year, profit and loss account showed debit balance means loss, negative balance of rupees 60,000. Okay, this is the opening balance. It will help us in working note 4. Now working note 4, that is profit and loss account workings. Loss of 60,000, while its general reserve had no balance. No balance means opening balance was 0. So here it is clear. Normally we have the language that general reserve has remained unchanged since that date. So entire general reserve we take as opening balance. But here it is given opening balance was 0. On 1/4/18 general reserve had no balance. Means entire 30,000 is transferred in the current year. In the beginning of the year, general reserve had no balance. Means entire 30,000 is transferred in the current year. So different from the past questions. In the past question, normally entire amount of balance sheet becomes the opening balance because the language is general reserve has remained unchanged since that date. But here it is clearly given on 1/4/18 general reserve had no balance. So in the beginning of the year it had no balance, means the entire amount is transferred in the current year. Next. So this all will help us now in working note 4, not working note 3, working note 4. That is profit and loss account and general reserves workings. Creditors of S Limited included an amount of 60,000. Now creditors included an amount of 60,000. So intercompany adjustment. Put tick on trade debtors and put tick on trade creditors. 60,000 we will minus from debtors and minus from creditors. Creditors of S Limited included an amount of 60,000 for purchases from A Limited. So minus from creditors and minus from debtors. Half of which are still unsold. So this will help us in getting unrealized profit. We always calculate unrealized profit on the goods which remain unsold. A Limited sells goods at 20% above the cost. Now this shortcut method I discussed with you in the live session, that if percentage profit is on selling price, then R upon 100, and if percentage profit is on cost price, then R upon 100 plus R. R means the percentage rate. So here it is on cost, means we will not do 20 upon 100, we will do 20 upon 120, shortcut method. Okay, since 20% profit is above the cost, we will not do 20 upon 100, we will do 20 upon 120. So that will make the seventh working unrealized profit. S Limited remitted a check for 15,000 on 31st March 19, which was received by A Limited in the month of April 19. Now this is again, you can say, check in transit. Okay, this we have done earlier also, but earlier we used to be given with current account of A in the books of S and S in the books of A. Here we are not given with any such current account because the amount is included in creditors and debtors itself. Okay, out of this 60,000 of credit purchases, 15,000 of check is remitted, but the other company has received it in April, means on 31st March the check is in transit. So what two effects will we give for this check in transit? One effect, add in cash and cash equivalents, and since it is included in one of the company's debtors, you minus it from trade receivables. So put one more tick on trade receivables, means in trade debtors we will minus this check in transit and put tick on cash at bank. In cash and cash equivalents will add this check in transit. Okay, understand the logic once again. It is included in the debtors of A Limited. Creditors of S Limited include 60,000 for goods purchased from A Limited, means A Limited has sold to S. So in the debtors of A Limited, A still shows that it has to receive 15,000 because they did not receive the check. So we have to minus it from trade receivables, and the check in transit is to be added in cash and cash equivalents. Earlier we had done the same, but we had done in current account. Here current account is not given in the question, so we minus it from debtors and we plus in cash and cash equivalents. Okay. Now fifth is the new and important adjustment, that is of revaluation of assets. Machinery of A Limited, whose book value on 1/4/18, beginning of the year the book value was 4 lakh, was revalued at rupees 5,40,000 at the date of acquisition. At the date of acquisition means, what is the date of acquisition in adjustment 1? 31/7/18. So the machinery is revalued at 5,40,000, but on which date? 31/7/18. So if I ask you what is the revaluation, profit or upward, then you'll say against 4 lakhs it is revalued at 5,40,000. So there is a profit of 1,40,000, right or not? I repeat, against 4 lakhs it is revalued at 5,40,000, means what is the revaluation profit? 1,40,000. No, that is wrong. You have to make that workings. We cannot compare 4 lakh with 5,40,000. Reason? 4 lakh is the value on 1/4/18 and 5,40,000 is the value on 31/7/18. How can you compare the value on 1st April with the value on 31st July and say you have a profit of 1,40,000? That's why we have to make this workings. And in this workings, first we'll find the value of asset also on the date of acquisition. Then we will compare with 5,40,000 and get profit or loss. That is the logic of making these workings. So right now you cannot just compare the two figures 4 lakh and 5,40,000 and jump on to the conclusion that there is a profit of 1,40,000. And did you all understand the logic behind that? Yes, because 4 lakh is the value on which date? 1/4/18. And 5,40,000 revaluation is done on the date of acquisition, means which date? 31/7/18. We cannot compare 5,40,000 directly with 4 lakhs. First we have to find the book value also on 31/7/18. Then the two values can be compared and revaluation profit or loss can be obtained. So that workings will have to be done. Effect of the same has not been given in the books of A Limited. So those 4 effects will have to give, as we discussed, profit or loss, plus or minus, and its depreciation opposite. If profit you plus depreciation minus, if loss you minus its depreciation, we will plus. Those effects we will give when we do the solution. Prepare consolidated balance sheet of S Limited, that is holding company. Be careful. In this question, holding company's name is S Limited, not H Limited, okay? And its subsidiary A Limited as at 31/3/19. So let us proceed with the workings of this. 7 workings we'll have to make in this particular question. Okay, so let us make the 7 set of workings in this question now. All of you write down in your notebook. Working note 1. Okay, working note 1, degree of control. Two columns. Don't write H Limited. Here the name of the holding company is S Limited, and minority interest. S does not stand for subsidiary company. Here S Limited is the name of the holding company. Now how many shares are there in the subsidiary company A Limited? 70,000. So write down 70,000 shares, or equity shares rather, of subsidiary company whose name is A Limited. Now out of that 70,000, adjustment 1, how many shares are required by holding company? 70%. So 70,000, 70%, 49,000 shares are required by holding company S Limited. Remaining 21,000 is minority interest. Now if you cancel all the zeros, 49 and 21 will remain. 49 and 21 both are divisible by 7. 49 divided by 7 is 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 7 is to 3. 7 plus 3, 10. 7 by 10 and 3 by 10 is the ratio of degree of control. Second workings we will do of time ratio. Now what are the 3 dates in the order? Beginning of the year 1/4/18. What is the date of acquisition given in adjustment once a year? 31/7/18. And what is the date of year ending? 31/3/19. So April, May, June, July. Here July will be included because 31st July is given. Be careful, not 1st July, 31st July. So April, May, June, July, 4 months is pre-acquisition period, and then August to March, 8 months is post-acquisition period. Both are divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4, 1. 8 divided by 4, 2. So 1 is to 2, 1 by 3, and 2 by 3 is the time ratio. Now third working will not be profit and loss workings, but third working will be done for revaluation of which asset. Look at last adjustment. Which assets revaluation is done? Machinery's revaluation is done. So revaluation of machinery. Okay, third working we will do for revaluation of machinery. Now just now, as I said to you, what 4 columns we will make to find the revaluations effects? Particulars, book value, revaluation, and effects. Let us make these 4 columns here. Okay, particulars, then book value, then revaluation, and then effects. Now before we put the amounts in this, leave around 5-6 lines. First we will have to find the rate of depreciation, because we cannot find this depreciation amount, depreciation up to the date of acquisition, depreciation up to the end of the year, until we have the rate of depreciation in the question. Can you see rate of depreciation anywhere in the question? No. So how to find this rate of depreciation? It's quite simple. What is the value of machinery of A Limited on 1/4/18? 4 lakhs. And what is the value of machinery of A Limited on 31/3/19? See here, 3,35,000. I repeat, what is the value of machinery of A Limited in the beginning of the year? 4 lakh. What is the value of machinery of A Limited at the end of the year? 3,35,000. From this we can get the rate of depreciation. So leaving around 5-6 lines, you can write here. Okay, on 1/4/18, beginning of the year, the value of machinery is 4 lakhs as per the adjustment 4, last adjustment, adjustment 5. And on 31/3/19, the value of machinery in the balance sheet is 3,35,000. Okay, what is the value of machinery in the balance sheet of A Limited? sorry, it's buildings value 3,52,000, not 3,35,000. 3,52,000. Okay. What is the value of machinery in the balance sheet on 31/3/19? 3,52,000. So, how much of depreciation is provided during the year? 4 lakhs and 3,52,000's difference, 48,000. Okay. Once again, what is the value of machinery of A Limited in the beginning of the year? 4 lakhs. What is the value of machinery of A at the end of the year in the balance sheet? 3,52,000. So how much depreciation is already provided in the books of accounts? 48,000. So what would be the rate of depreciation? What would be the rate of depreciation? 48,000 of depreciation is provided on 4 lakhs value in the beginning of the year. So 48,000 upon 4 lakhs into 100. Okay. This 48,000 divided by 4 lakhs into 100. Can I say 12% depreciation is provided in the books of accounts? And cross check. What is 4 lakhs 12%? 48,000. So what is the rate of depreciation provided in the books of accounts? 12%. This working you have to do below this workings, leaving 5 to 6 lines, all of you. 6, 7, 8 lines rather, safer side. Leaving around 7 to 8 lines, all of you show this workings for rate of depreciation. Okay. I explain it one more time. How do we get the rate of depreciation? The value of machinery in the beginning of the year is 4 lakhs. The value of same machinery at the end of the year is 3,52,000. So how much depreciation would we have provided in the books of accounts? 4 lakhs minus 3,52,000, 48,000. Now 48,000 depreciation is provided on 4 lakhs of machinery in the beginning of the year. Means 48,000 upon 4 lakhs into 100. What is the rate of depreciation we have provided on machinery? 12%. So primarily before we start with the main workings, this calculation will have to be done. Now we can start with these workings, understand it? How do we start the workings here? What did I make you write? We start with value at the year beginning. So first we start with value of machinery at the year beginning means as on 1/4/18. Now what is the value of machinery of A Limited as on 1/4/18? 4 lakhs. Okay, what is the value of machinery of A Limited as on 1/4/18? 4 lakhs. Then what is the second point I made you write in the workings? From that we subtract depreciation up to the date of acquisition. What is the date of acquisition? 31/7/18. So we will minus depreciation up to 31/7/18. Okay, we will minus depreciation up to 31/7/18, means April, May, June, July, 4 months depreciation. So 4 lakhs. Okay, this 4 lakhs, as we discussed, the rate of depreciation is 12%. That's why it is required into 12%. And April, May, June, July, 4 months. So into 4 by 12. Okay, 4 lakhs into 12% into 4 divided by 12. That comes to 16,000. So up to 31st July, the depreciation is 16,000. Means what is the value of machinery as on 31/7/18? 4 lakhs minus 16,000, 3,84,000. Okay, what is the value of machinery as on 31/7/18? 3,84,000. Now 3,84,000 is on 31/7/18. So now can we compare 3,84,000 with 5,40,000 or not? Because machinery of A Limited is revalued at 5,40,000 on the date of acquisition, which is also 31/7/18. So now we can compare this. We cannot compare 4 lakhs with 5,40,000, but we can compare 3,84,000 with 5,40,000. On 31/7/18, the value of machinery in the books is 3,84,000. Against that, it is revalued at 5,40,000. So how much is it revalued upward? 5,40,000 minus 3,84,000. 1,56,000 upward revaluation is done. Upward means profit. So as we discussed in the beginning today, what two effects will you give if you are revaluing it upward? You'll plus in machinery and you will plus in pre-acquisition column in working note 4. Now that would be our working note 4. Revaluation is done upward against 3,84,000, 5,40,000. So we will plus in machinery and plus in pre-acquisition profits. Okay. Put tick on machinery here. Revaluation profit will be added when we make the consolidated balance sheet. Now further we subtract depreciation up to the end of the year, that is 31/3/19. Now August to March means remaining 8 months depreciation. But what did I tell you? This depreciation also we count on 4 lakhs, and this depreciation also we will count on 4 lakhs, because in the books you don't count depreciation on 3,84,000. In the books you count depreciation on the value in the beginning of the year only. So same 4 lakhs into 12% into remaining 8 months up to 31/3/19, August to March. 8 divided by 12. 32,000 will be the depreciation for remaining 8 months. In the books, we have provided 32,000 of depreciation, whereas we should count on 5,40,000 after the revaluation. Means in the revaluation column, what should be the depreciation? 5,40,000 into 12% into 8 by 12. Do it, everyone. 5,40,000 into 12% into 8 by 12. Means it should be 43,200. So what is the difference here? This difference comes to 1,56,000. Depreciation, what difference comes to? 43,200 minus 32,000. How much more depreciation we have to provide? 11,200. This is the effect of depreciation we are supposed to give. Now what did I tell you? If revaluation profit you plus, its depreciation you will minus. You'll minus it from machinery. Okay, you'll minus it from machinery, and you'll minus it from post acquisition column in working note 4. Okay, we discussed this. You'll minus it from post acquisition column in working note 4. So be careful with this. Now for 3,84,000 minus 32,000, so that would come to 3,52,000. You can already see this value in the balance sheet, 3,52,000 in the books of accounts. So what is the book value on 31/3/19? The book value on 31/3/19 is 3,52,000, whereas what book value should now come in the books of accounts? 5,40,000 minus 43,200. Now the value must be appearing at 4,96,800. Okay, in the consolidated balance sheet, what amount should come for machinery of subsidiary company A Limited? 4,96,800. So this workings of revaluation of assets is what I explained you in the beginning, and now we have practiced that with the practical question. Okay, see that you go through that workings properly and practice it well. Okay, once more I'll explain it to you. Be attentive. What was the value of machinery on 1/4/18 beginning of the year? 4 lakhs. Now we have acquired the shares on 31/7/18. So first we will count depreciation up to 37/18, that is April, May, June, July, 4 months. So 4 lakhs into, we counted the rate is 12% into 4 by 12, it comes to 16,000. Means when we are acquiring the shares on 31/7/18, what is the value of machinery at that point of time? 3,84,000. And against that we have revalued it at 5,40,000. Means we have done how much revaluation upward? 1,56,000. So the revaluation upward we will add in machinery and add in pre-acquisition profits in the next workings. Further we will count depreciation for the remaining part of the year from August to March, 8 months. But we will count it on the value at the beginning of the year only. Means we'll count this depreciation also on 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs into 12% into remaining 8 months, 8 by 12, 32,000. And in revaluation column we'll count the same on 5,40,000. So 5,40,000 into 12% into 8 by 12, that comes to 43,200. Now 32,000 and 43,200 is difference. How much more depreciation we have to provide in the books of accounts? 11,200. What two effects will you give for this depreciation? Revaluation upward is added, so its depreciation we will minus. Minus in machinery and minus in post acquisition profits. Here put one more tick on machinery. two effects we have to give. We have to add the revaluation profit as well as subtract its depreciation. Now, next working note 4 will be of profit and loss account and general reserve. So all of you give the heading profit and loss account. 3 columns we make for profit and loss account: total, pre and post. Okay, 3 columns we make for profit and loss account: total, pre and post. We start with opening balance. Okay, we start with opening balance. See in adjustment number 2. What is the opening balance? Debit balance of 60,000. Debit balance of 60,000 means loss. So minus 60,000. Entire minus 60,000 opening balance will go in pre-acquisition column. Then we find profit during the year. Now, how do we find profit during the year? Closing minus opening. If you remember, when we solve the objective questions, I told you follow the pure mathematics. Loss minus profit plus and do closing minus opening. What is closing balance of P&L account in balance sheet of A Limited? 90,000. So closing is 90,000 minus what is opening? Loss of 60,000 means minus 60,000. Okay, pure mathematics. Closing minus opening. Opening is a loss of 60,000, so we do minus 60,000. Now minus minus will become plus. So 90,000 plus 60,000. Actually, there is a profit of 1,50,000 during the year. I repeat, closing 90,000 minus opening loss means minus 60,000. Minus minus becomes plus. So 90,000 plus 60,000, there is a profit of 1,50,000 during the year. This profit we will distribute in time ratio 1:2. Okay, second working 1:2. So 1,50,000 into 1 by 3, 50,000, and 1,50,000 into 2 by 3, 1 lakh. Now what is the total? Minus 60 plus 50, minus 10. Don't write that. We have to give these effects also without fail. Okay, so revaluation upward 1,56,000 we have to add. Write down revaluation upward of machinery. Revaluation upward of machinery. How much we have to add in pre-acquisition column? 1,56,000. And its depreciation. And its depreciation we will minus. How much of depreciation we have to minus in post-acquisition column? 11,200 we have to minus in post-acquisition column. Okay, revaluation upward. We add profit of 1,56,000 in pre-acquisition column, and its depreciation as we calculated 11,200 we minus in post-acquisition column. So minus 60,000 plus 50,000 plus 1,56,000. All of you find out the amount. It comes to 1,46,000 and 1 lakh minus 11,200, it comes to 88,800. Okay. Then similar working we do for general reserve. Opening balance. How much is opening balance of general reserve? You all can see in adjustment 2, it had no balance. Means opening balance is nil. So entire nil will be taken in pre-acquisition column. Now what is transfer during the year? Transfer to general reserve during the year. We always do closing minus opening. Here opening was nil. So entire amount of 30,000 is transferred during the year as we discussed. So 30,000 minus nil. Closing 30,000 minus opening balance nil means entire 30,000 is transferred during the current year. This we will distribute in time ratio 1:2. So 30,000 into 1 by 3, 10,000 is pre-acquisition general reserve, and 30,000 into 2 by 3, 20,000 is post-acquisition reserves. So finally 10,000 is pre and 20,000 is post. Now we will do working note 5 of control chart A. All the workings increase by one number because of revaluation workings which comes in between. So control chart A. Which three columns do we make in control chart A? Total, holding company, S Limited. Be careful, the name of holding company here is S Limited. S does not stand for subsidiary company, it's the name of holding company. And minority interest. In which ratio we have to distribute all amounts in this working? 7:3, degree of control. Okay, all amounts in this workings will go in the ratio of 7/10 and 3/10. A, we take capital profits. Now, what are capital profits? First, we have pre-acquisition profits, which we get from working note 3. Not working note 3, sorry, here working note 4. What are pre-acquisition profits we get from working note 4? 1,46,000 we get in the pre column. Okay, 1,46,000. Same way, pre-acquisition reserves. Okay, again pre-acquisition reserves also we get from working note 4. What are the pre-acquisition reserves we get from working note 4? 10,000. So 1,46,000 plus 10,000. What are the total capital profits? 1,56,000. Now 1,56,000 into 7/10. So how much is holding company's share in that? 1,09,200. And 1,56,000 into 3/10. What is minority shareholders' share? 46,800. Now we do revenue profits. Okay, B working in that is revenue profits. How do we find the revenue profits? Post acquisition profits that we again get from working note 4. Okay, what are the post acquisition profits in working note 4? Check it everyone. 88,800. So post acquisition profits 88,800. And what are post acquisition reserves in working note 4? Post acquisition reserves in working note 4 are 20,000. So what are the total revenue profits we get? 88,800 plus 20,000. 1,08,800 are revenue profits we obtain. Okay. So 1,08,800 into 7/10. What will be holding company's share? 76,160. And 1,08,800 into 3/10. Okay, 1,08,800 into 3/10. What is minorities share in that? 32640. Then third item we take share capital of A Limited. Here the name of the subsidiary company is A Limited. So what is the share capital of A Limited in the balance sheet? Check it everyone. 7 lakh rupees. So that's 7 lakh into 7/10. What is the share of holding company? 4,90,000. And 7 lakh into 3/10, 2,10,000. So what is the amount of minority interest we obtain? Add all the three amounts. 46,800 plus 32,640 plus 2,10,000. 2,89,440. Okay, 2,89,440 is the amount of minority interest. Are you all clear with this? 2,89,440 is the amount of minority interest. Now, what do we do with the first and third amount? In this H limited's column, first and third amount, we minus it in control chart B, next workings. And what do you do with the middle amount of H limited? We add it in P&L account in consolidated balance sheet. Okay, so be careful with these effects. Now working note 6 we will make for control chart B. Okay, working note 6 we will make for control chart B, that is cost of control. Okay, control chart B, that is cost of control. Now how do we make this working note 6 of cost of control? We will start with investments of holding company name is S Limited in the shares of subsidiary company, that is A Limited. Now see, in this balance sheet we have already bifurcated and classified that 5,39,000 are the investments of holding company in the shares of A Limited. And how did we get this from this adjustment 1? 49,000 shares are acquired at premium of 1 means 11 rupees, so 5,39,000. Okay, 49,000 shares are acquired at a premium of 1 means 11 rupees. So 49,000 into 11, investments are 5,39,000. Now from this we have to subtract two amounts of working note of control chart A. First we have to subtract face value of shares held by S Limited, that is holding company here. S Limited is the holding company. What is the face value of shares we have to minus here? 4,90,000. And further we have to minus share of holding company S Limited in the capital profits of A Limited, subsidiary company. Now what is share of holding company in the capital profits of subsidiary company? See here, all of you, first and third amount we discussed, we have to subtract, so 1,09,200. Okay, these two amounts we have to minus here. So 4,90,000 plus 1,09,200. What amount do we have to minus? 5,99,200. Okay, 5,99,200. Now 5,39,000 minus 5,99,200. It's a negative amount, means 60,200 is the amount of capital reserve. Okay, it's a negative amount, means 60,200 is the amount of capital reserve. Now, since we already have goodwill in balance sheet, normally we show capital reserve in reserves and surplus. But here, since we already have this goodwill in balance sheet, I told you goodwill and capital reserve both cannot appear together. What is the amount of goodwill in balance sheet total of both the companies? 2,50,000. Since goodwill is more, 2,50,000, capital reserve is less, 60,200. We will minus this from goodwill in consolidated balance sheet. I told you bigger amount minus smaller amount. Goodwill is bigger amount, 2,50,000. So capital reserve smaller amount we will minus from goodwill in consolidated balance sheet. Okay. And then seventh workings we make for unrealized profit. Now how do we calculate unrealized profit? First information we always write goods sold by which company to other company. So first we always write goods sold by one company to another company. Here which company has sold goods to which company? Look at the last second adjustment, third adjustment. Creditors of S Limited include an amount of 60,000 for purchase from A. Purchase from A. S is purchasing from A means A is selling to H. Sorry, S. A is selling to S. So all of it on goods sold by A Limited to S Limited. Now A here is the subsidiary company. S here is the holding company. So subsidiary company means child is selling to parent. It's an upstream sale. Be careful with this. Child is selling to parent. So it's an upstream sale. How do we understand child is selling to parent? Clearly given, purchase from A Limited. S has purchased from A Limited means A has sold to S Limited. So goods are sold by A Limited to S Limited, which is an upstream sale. Subsidiary company is selling the goods to holding company. What amount of goods are sold? 60,000. So goods sold by subsidiary to holding 60,000. Now we always write second information about goods remaining unsold. Okay, always second information what we write is goods remaining unsold. How many goods are remaining unsold? Here what information is given? Half of which are still unsold. So half of the goods are unsold means we will calculate unrealized profit only on half of the goods. And third, what is the information of profit given to you? I told you some information of profit will be given. What is the information of profit given? 20% above cost. Profit is calculated at 20% on cost. Now, what is the shortcut method? I told you on selling price R upon 100 and on cost price R upon 100 plus R. So how will we calculate this unrealized profit? Understand it carefully now. Directly by following the shortcut method. 60,000 into half. Why half? For this unsold goods. We'll do 60,000 into half for this unsold goods. Okay. Then into, since profit is 20% on cost price, you do 20 upon 120. If it is on selling price, you do 20 upon 100. If it is on cost price, you do 20 upon 120. And further into, since it is upstream sale, we have to take only holding company's share. What is holding company's share? 7 by 10. Okay. So further we will do into 7 by 10. What is this 7 by 12? 7 by 10 is holding company S Limited's share. Okay, upstream sales, so we have to take only holding company's share. I repeat it. How do we count unrealized profit? 60,000 into half into 20 by 120, and since it is upstream sale, further we do into 7 by 10 holding company's share. So calculate this everyone. 60,000 into half, that is 30,000, into 20 by 120, that is 5,000, into 7 by 10, that is 3,500. Unrealized profit is 3,500. What two effects will we give for this unrealized profit? Minus from P&L account and minus from stock. Okay, minus from P&L account, so put tick on P&L account, and minus from stock, so put tick on stock. So these are the 7 workings we have to make. Workings are the most important part in this chapter. If there is any confusion, rewind and listen carefully once again the explanation of each and every working. Okay. Now all of you make this format of consolidated balance sheet of holding company's name is here S Limited, not A Limited. So all of you mention holding company's name here as A Limited. Sorry, S Limited. And its subsidiary's name is A Limited. So consolidated balance sheet of holding company S Limited and its subsidiary A Limited as on 31/3/19. Okay. all of you pause the video and make this format. Fixed format of balance sheet. Don't forget to write minority interest in between shareholders funds and non-current liability. Okay, pause the video and make this formats fast, everyone. Then we will make the notes. Yes, I hope everyone would have done with the formats by now. Let us take up with the notes. So first note, share capital, question mark and double underline. It is never given in the questions. Now, issued, subscribed and paid up capital. We'll write only of holding company. So you all can see 10,50,000 is the share capital amount and 1,05,000 shares are there. So issued, subscribed and paid up capital, you all write down 1,05,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each. Okay, 1,05,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each. That is 10,50,000. Total also 10,50,000. Now reserves and surplus. First we will write general reserve only of holding company directly in the outer column. So you all see what is the general reserve of holding company. You all can see here 2,50,000 is the general reserve of holding company. That will directly come in outer column. So all of you write down general reserve 2,50,000. Now we'll write profit and loss account again only of holding company in inner column. So what is the profit and loss account of holding company below that 2,50,000? 3,10,000. That will come in inner column. Okay, profit and loss account only holding company's amount, that is 3,10,000. Now in that we will add share of S Limited, that is holding company's name here, in the revenue profits of A Limited, that is subsidiary company. So see here everyone, what is the share of S Limited in the revenue profits? This middle amount 76,160 is what we have to add in P&L account and balance sheet. Okay, so 76,160, and further we will minus unrealized profit. Okay, from this further we will minus unrealized profit, which we get in the last working note, that is 3,500. Okay, unrealized profit what we have to minus from P&L account is 3,500. So 3,500 will subtract here. Now 3,10,000 plus 76,160, that is 3,86,160 minus 3,500. So in outer column 3,82,660, and the total 2,50,000 plus 3,82,660, that will come to 2 plus 3 5 550, 6,32,660. Now long-term borrowings. See in the consolidated balance sheet what we have to write in long-term borrowings here. This is long-term borrowings, 10% term loan, 1,40,000 of subsidiary holding company and 1,95,000 of subsidiary company. So 10% term loan in long-term borrowings. We have 10% term loan. Holding company S Limited 1,40,000. Subsidiary company A Limited 1,95,000. Total will come to 3,35,000. And final total also 3,35,000. Then trade payables, next note. See in the balance sheet what are trade payables. Trade creditors, that is 90,000 and 67,000, and there is a tick, means from 90 and 67,000 Third adjustment, we have to subtract 60,000 of intercompany adjustment. Okay, 90,000 plus 67,000 minus 60,000. So all of you write down creditors holding company S Limited 90,000, subsidiary company A Limited 67,000. From that we'll subtract intercompany adjustment, that is 60,000. Outer column 90,000 plus 67,000 minus 60,000, 97,000. And final total also 97,000. Okay, everyone should be clear up till here. Then tangible fixed assets we have. Now tangible fixed assets, in that building 5,50,000 plus 3,35,000, so 8,85,000. Building. Intangible fixed assets, first we have building. Holding company S Limited 5,50,000. Subsidiary company A Limited 3,35,000. Outer column 8,85,000. Then after building we have machinery. Holding company S Limited, subsidiary company A Limited. And then in machinery we have to give two effects of adjustments. We have to add revaluation profit, that is upward, and we have to subtract additional depreciation of that revaluation upward. So these all effects we have to give in machinery. First of all, what are the machineries in the balance sheet? See here, 4 lakhs of holding company and 3,52,000 of subsidiary company. So 4 lakhs plus 3,52,000. Okay, 4 lakhs plus 3,52,000. Now revaluation profit, all of you look at working note 3. What amount of revaluation profit do we have to add in machinery? 1,56,000. And what is the depreciation we have to minus from machinery? 11,200. Okay, 1,56,000 of revaluation profit we have to add, and 11,200 of depreciation we have to minus. So plus 1,56,000 minus 11,200. In the outer column what we will get is 4 lakh plus 3,52,000 plus 1,56,000 minus 11,200, 8,96,800. Okay. Total tangible fixed assets, what we will get in the final amount is 8,85,000 plus 8,96,200. That comes to 17,81,800. 17,81,800. Okay. Alternatively, what you can do is in the working note 3, if you all see directly, we have written that in balance sheet we will write this 4,96,800. Even if you directly write 4,96,800, it is fine. Means in that case you will have 4 lakhs this amount plus 4,96,800, so directly 8,96,800. That can also be done. Okay, if you don't want to show the detailed calculation, then in the workings we have already shown the depreciation and revaluations amount. Now intangible fixed assets will include goodwill. So first we'll write goodwill is already there in the balance sheet also. So goodwill of holding company S Limited and goodwill of subsidiary company A Limited. And since we have seen there is capital reserve in the control chart B, that capital reserve we will minus from the amount of goodwill. So see in the balance sheet what is goodwill of holding and subsidiary company. Goodwill is 2 lakhs plus 50,000, that is 2,50,000. So first we'll write goodwill of holding and subsidiary company 2,50,000. 2 lakhs of holding company S Limited and 50,000 of subsidiary company A Limited. From that we have to subtract capital reserve. So all of you see in control chart B what capital reserve did we get? 60,200. Since capital reserve is smaller amount we minus from goodwill. If capital reserve was bigger amount, then we would have subtracted goodwill from capital reserve in reserves and surplus. So 2 lakh plus 50,000, 2 lakh 50,000 minus 60,200. Okay, not 69,200, 60,200. So 2 lakhs plus 50,000 minus 60,200, that comes to 1,89,800. Total also finally 1,89,800. Now non-current investments are also there here in the balance sheet. Outside investments are there of holding company. So see in the balance sheet, 11,000 are outside investments of holding company and 1,05,000 are the investments of subsidiary company. They will continue to appear in the balance sheet. So non-current investments, all of you write down. Holding company, first of all write investments. In that holding company S Limited and subsidiary company A Limited. Holding company's investments are 11,000. Subsidiary company's investments are 1,05,000. So total will come to 1,16,000. And final total also 1,16,000. Then inventories, that is stock. Now in stock again we will have holding company S Limited's stock, subsidiary company A Limited's stock, and from the stock we have to minus unrealized profit. Okay, from the stock we have to minus unrealized profit. So see in the balance sheet, first of all, what is stock of holding and subsidiary company? 55,000 of holding company and 1,20,000 of subsidiary company. So all of it write down 55,000 and 1,20,000. So stock of holding company 55,000, then stock of subsidiary company 1,20,000, and then from that we have to minus unrealized profit. You all can see unrealized profit in the last workings we have got 3,500. So from that we will minus 3,500. Outer column will get 1,50,000 plus 55,000 plus 1,20,000, 1,75,000 minus 3,500, 1,71,500. Final total also 1,71,500. Then trade receivables will include debtors. First we'll write debtors of holding company S Limited. Then we'll write debtors of subsidiary company A Limited. From that we have to subtract intercompany adjustment. Now first of all, what are the debtors of holding and subsidiary company? Debtors of holding company 57,000, subsidiary company 55,000. Okay, 57,000 and 55,000. From that adjustment fee we have to minus 60,000. So 57,000 plus 55,000 minus 60,000. S Limited 57,000, A Limited 55,000 minus intercompany adjustment 60,000. Further, we also have the effect of check in transit over here, which we have to minus in trade receivables. Okay, so check in transit you will further subtract in trade receivables because that is issued by one company but not received by another company. So further we have to minus 15,000 of check in transit. You all can see here we have written already in adjustment number 4 we have written that we have to minus from trade receivables and we have to add in cash and cash equivalents. And here also in trade receivables we have put 2 ticks, one tick for intercompany adjustment, the other for check in transit. So here further we have to minus that 15,000 of check in transit. Okay, in the outer column what we will get is 57,000 plus 55,000 minus 60,000 minus 15,000. So outer column we will get 37,000. and final total will also be 37,000. And cash and cash equivalents, we will have cash at bank of holding company S Limited, subsidiary company A Limited, and further in that we will add check in transit. Okay, further we will add check in transit. So first of all, what is the cash and bank balance of holding and subsidiary company? You all can see 28,000 and 65,000, and further we have to add 15,000 of check in transit. So all of you write down 28,000 of holding company, 65,000 of subsidiary company, and further we have to add check in transit 15,000. So 28,000 plus 65,000 plus 15,000, that comes to 1,08,000, and final total also 1,08,000. Now we have to put this all in the consolidated balance sheet. So all of it are down in the consolidated balance sheet. Shareholders funds, share capital would be note 1, reserves and surplus would be note 2. Share capital's amount is 10,50,000 from note 1. Reserves and surplus amount from note 2 is 6,32,660. 6,32,660. Final total is 10,50,000 plus 6, so 16,82,660. Okay, 660. Then minority interest we directly get from working note 5 over here, 2,89,440. Okay, 2,89,440. Then long-term borrowings we get from working note 3. You all can see in working note 3, 3,35,000 are long-term borrowings. And final total in outer column 3,35,000. Other items we don't have. Then directly we have trade payables in note number 4. You all can see 97,000. So trade payables in note number 4, 97,000, and outer column also 97,000. Final total of balance sheet is 16,82,660 plus 2,89,440 plus 3,35,000 plus 97,000. That comes to 24,04,100. Then intangible fixed assets, we have note number 5. Intangible fixed assets, we have note number 6. Non-current investments, we have note number 7. 3 items we have. So from note 5, tangible fixed assets 17,81,800. Then intangible fixed assets from note number 6, 1,89,800. 1,89,800. Then non-current investments from note number 7, 1,16,000. 1,16,000. And final total in the outer column 17,81,800 plus 1,89,800 plus 1,16,000. We get 20,87,600. Then in current assets we have inventories in note number 8, trade receivables in note number 9, cash and cash equivalents in note number 10. So what are inventories in note number 8? 1,71,500. Then what are trade receivables in note number 9? 37,000. And then what are cash and cash equivalents in note number 10? That is 1,08,000. Now final total in outer column of current assets is 1,71,500 plus 37,000 plus 1,08,000, that is 3,16,500. And then final total of balance sheet 20,00,000 87,600 plus 3,16,500, that is 24,04,100. So the balance sheet gets tallied. Okay. So I hope everyone is clear in this question with the effect of revaluation of assets. How is it to be given? Now see, we have solved question number 16. All of you will try in homework question number 17. It is exactly similar to this question. In fact, easier than this question in the sense that you don't have this check in transit adjustment. Instead of 5 adjustments, you have 4 adjustments only. But all the 4 adjustments are exactly similar. So it is necessary that you try one question entirely on your own. Then only you will understand the effects of this revaluation, etc. So all of you try complete question 17 on your own in the homework. Okay. That'll be all for today in this lecture. Bye everyone. Take care. See you in the next lecture.